to Matt for presenting the podcast. As always, if you haven't already, you're a Melbourne resident, or even if you're a fly-in, make sure you check out their store in North Melbourne. It's a ripper, and as always, I have just premium kit in there, and it's all you need, really.
They released their new bib shorts recently.
Yeah,
There was a lot of talk about that on the socials.
3.0. Apparently, it's unbelievable.
Of course it is.
Well, they always do things good. First off, Campbell, you're going to kick us off with the first segment. What do we need to know from the last 2 weeks of racing?
Well, there's been probably the two biggest one-week tours of the year in Paris-Nice and Tirreno. Paris-Nice, super windy start. It's kind of the first big showdown between a lot of the sprinters and Dylan Groenewegen. He took two stages. It was windy. Lotto Jumbo, Dutch team, they love the wind. They got the chockies. Caleb Ewan was mighty close on stage one, so it shows that his form was pretty good, Alex, heading into San Remo, which we'll touch on shortly. But he actually didn't get a stage win, and it was Sam Bennett. He picked up two as well. So Caleb Ewan, he picked up a win in the Middle East, but still yet to jag one in Europe this year. And the overall winner was Bernal, who he was assisted in the earlier stages through Luke Rowe. We put a tweet out of Luke Rowe in the crossies, just taking the piss. Like, he really was taking the piss. I'm not sure if you guys have seen it, but licks his finger, puts it into the wind, testing the wind speed, and then bang, it just goes straight in the gutter, and he's just like straight into the wheel. No stress. So, Bernal, I think he's the youngest winner of all time in Paris-Nice. Alberto Contador was 24, Eddie Merckx was 23, and Bernal's 22, Alex. That's mighty young.
That is really young. Think back to when you were 22, what you were doing. We were still flapping around and junior teams trying to find our way. Holding your own in Paris-Nice and holding your own in the crosswinds and taking the race on at 22, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, it is. But like I said before, if you've got guys like Luke Rowe that can just guide you through those sticky situations, but it's probably the first time he's had a genuine leadership at a huge race like Paris-Nice. What's going on now? It's probably the first time he's had a big responsibility at Paris-Nice. Yeah, they had Kwiatkowski there as well, who probably a little bit flat. I would have thought maybe not to pick up the W. Yes, he probably comes across as if he's happy for his teammate, but I reckon Kwiatkowski probably wanted that win.
The same way Froome was happy for G the other year.
Oh, I'm happy for him. But there's one talking point as well, Alex. This time trial result at Paris-Nice, Simon Yates won the time trial, and it wasn't like it was an average speed of 41 or 42. He won average speed of 50k an hour.
I hadn't previously looked at the time trial parkour and saw the result sheet. Okay. Must have been an uphill drag because, Tommy D featured in there a little bit.
No, Tommy D wasn't there.
Tommy D wasn't there?
No.
Who was it? Is it one time trial? Hang on, I'll get the list up.
Youngles was 11th. Maybe that's who you're thinking of.
Let's go with Youngles was 11th. Youngles was 11th, but Bernal was in the mixer.
Martinez.
It was like everyone.
Niels Pollard was second. Seriously, I've looked at these results and I've thought either A, there's still 60 riders to come in, or B, there's been some kind of cock-up with the timing system. Like, if you were to look at this top 10, Paris-Nice TT, 30 minutes, average of 50k an hour, you just wouldn't believe it. You actually wouldn't believe it.
Everyone's just gone back for the summer or the winter months, back to the hometown and just been on the TT rig for 4 months on end.
We'll just quickly go over the top 10. Simon Yates, Niels Pollard, Kwiatkowski, TJ Van Garen, Martinez, Bernal, Craddock, Scully, Soler, Lewis, Leon Sanchez, and then, Youngles in 11th. Bizarre results. But anyway, Bernal picked up the chockies overall. Jack Haig was 4th overall, which I think we should touch on Jack a little bit.
He's going to feature in the main talking points of
we got a nice
middle of the potty.
Nice little clip from Jack. We'll get onto that shortly.
Hopefully.
But I'm just going to say it with confidence, man. It's going to happen. Also, Alex, the other race that was been on is Tirreno. Mitchell and Scott scorched the team time trial. Michael Hepburn picked up the blue leaders jersey, which is great. He's a genuine team man. He's a club man. You know, if it was a footy club, you'd talk about him as a club man. He's one of the boys. He's always doing the job, and he's picked up the leader's jersey in Tirreno. But probably the biggest talking point out of that first stage was the crash that happened. A rogue spectator, obviously drunk or on some sort of gear, just completely oblivious to Bora, who were coming down the street at 60k an hour, and he got hit. He got hit pretty hard.
He genuinely got bowled over, but also like there was the dog for Mitchelton Scott. Like it was a bit of a cowboy event. Like
Quite Italian,
yes,
you'd say?
the Italians are traditionally very relaxed, very. It's just how they do it, but they're taking a bit too far. And there was a bit of feedback on Twitter from them, especially from Larry. Larry's gone a very fair point, saying, "Hey, you stitch us up with a fine for coming up with the wrong socks
Coming
on,
late to sign on.
but you can't string together a bit of security for our course.
Yeah.
All we want is a course where we're not going to get cleaned up by a spectator."
Yeah, man, it's just a one-way street out there. We know that.
So yeah, that was a little bit poor, but Mitchelton Scott, full credit.
Super fast, and average about 57.
Team time trial on the tour this year.
Alex Edmondson
was there.
The specialist.
The specialist might get a little feature.
Alaphilippe and GVA, we saw the first showdown between them. Yeah, GVA was at Strata, but he didn't quite have the legs. And Alaphilippe again, he beat him in a sprint that you'd probably think GVA probably will clean up in his best form, but maybe Alaphilippe, he's getting to that age. He's 26, turning 27 this year. He's becoming quite a seasoned pro. Look, he's been good for a number of years, but he's got that 5 years under the belt in the World Tour now. He can do it.
He was all class at Strata, which, as you said, you expect him to get up there, I think, over GVA. But in that kind of drag racy-ish, part-time sprinter-ish finish, you'd still think GVA will get over the top of him. And maybe a little bit of, ooh dear, for CCC with their rider. That is the team.
Yeah.
That is the entire team is on GVA.
It is. We talked about Bevan, but let's be honest. It's all
GVA.
About it's GVA.
Oh dear.
I guess. There's still plenty of time. There's still all of April.
I know we're judging him off one result, but
still, there's the clock's ticking.
The team is on that rider.
Yeah. Viviani picked up a stage win, and also a team that we'll touch on later in the piece. We've got a question about them, but Astana with Luchenko winning a stage, crashing twice in the last 15k to win in I think it was about a four up group, and then Jakob Fulsang won last night on a filthy stage with about a 30% climb. So Jakob, he's having a super season, second at Strada Bianchi. So Quick Step and Astana are really the two standout teams of the season so far. So the last week, that's pretty much the two big races that I think we need to touch on.
Our take, we're going to run through two or three talking points. The Oceania Championships, which was on at the weekend. Brackets, our first commentary gig. Tafi breaks his collarbone.
Not doing Roubaix. I'm sure he had about 4 or 5 teams that were just waiting in the wings for his signature. Yeah. But sadly, he's broken his collarbone, so there'll be no Roubaix for the 50-year-old.
And the third point, Mr. Jack Haig, after his performance last week. The first point, Oceanias. You were down there Friday for TT. I joined you on Saturday for the road race. I had a good weekend.
I really enjoyed it. I was pretty nervous on the Friday, to be honest. I was there by myself, hadn't really done a TT or hadn't done any sort of commentary at all. So I was by myself. TT was okay because there's riders that's coming, going, and you can just talk about whoever's in the start gate. So that was okay. Ben Dybel took the chockies in the seniors with McGuinness, winning the under-23s. Kate Perry won the women's. So all the favourites kind of got the job done. And then Saturday, Alex, the road races in Railton. It was good, especially the under-19 boys in the morning. Finn Fisher Black. This is a good name, huh?
It is a genuine name, and he's a good rider too.
He's a super rider.
Cleaned up in the time trial, and then also came back and did the double the day after.
Yeah.
In the road race after the Kiwi boys put on a bit of a clinic.
Team Skoda was super.
Might have put the Aussie boys just back in their place a little bit.
Maybe. I think, Paddy Eddy, he was under 17, national champ, comes straight into the 19s, does the double. So it's probably a good thing for him to realise that there's some other really good kids out there. Yes, he's only a first year. Let's keep that in mind. Is Pat Eddy, but Finn Fisher Black, his second year, he looks like he's about 20. He's got
and the rest.
He's got a good physique on him. We know what he's done on the track. He set the new world record in the 3K pursuit. We were a little bit unsure about what he would do on the road, and it was a tricky course, wasn't it, down there in Railton?
It was a climbers course, which we'll talk about later. Resulted in a hill climber winning the men's race, and so for him to drag himself round. But probably the highlight of that under-19 race was just the NZ boys taking the bull by the horns, putting riders up the road. Riders were coming back. The breakaway came back in the end just after having a 40-second gap, 1 lap to go, and then Finn Fisher Black launched out of the peloton and came in solo, which was good for our calling because probably wasn't our strongest point in calling the finishes with not a whole lot of recognition of the riders.
And also not a whole lot of information of what was actually happening out on the road, so we couldn't really prepare for the call. But I think we got through all right. And
we held our own.
It helps when a rider comes in solo. But before the race, we talked about the under-19s maybe not being used to riding in a team and actually working for each other. Especially the Continental Championship, you see riders maybe go rogue a little bit, but they were committed.
Yeah,
like
we were
19s group was working like a well-oiled machine.
Well, they must have been listening because we were calling them out on the start line, going, there's heaps of them, but they're not actually going to work together. They're all going to just be individuals out there, and then they delivered.
They did.
The under-19 girls was actually really good too.
Only 16 stars, and we thought, wow, this is going to be hard for the girls to actually put on a race, but they put on a good show, and Tasmania's own Caitlin Turner, we heard on the radio that she was attacking all day, all night. She's not got the best sprint. She'll be the first to admit that. But she was trying, and I think she's won a lot of, well, especially us. She's won us over this weekend, Alex.
Yeah, no, I think we could say we're both maybe a little bit biased, but big fans of Caitlin Turner. Threw it down, but all in all, it was an enjoyable under-19 women's race. They were doing heaps.
Yeah.
They were doing heaps.
And I think they were lapping about 5 minutes quicker than the elite women.
Yeah.
We were expecting them to come in maybe 5 minutes slower, and then they're coming 1K to go. Hang on, it's only been 45 minutes. Like, they were moving. But then I guess the blue ribbon event of the weekend was the elite men's race, and Ben Dybel won by 4 minutes, Alex. And this wasn't one of those scenarios where he just bounces up the road, there's a bit of messing around, and the race just blows out. There was guys like Chris Harper, Jason Christie chopping off full gas, but Ben Dybel was in the original break, and then he just rode away. He just rode away all day, and in the end, 4 minutes. It must have been about 2.5, 3 minutes he took on the last lap. So he could have done another 2 laps, I think. He was looking that good.
Well, Chris Harper did his traditional nationals fashion and just went from the get-go.
Yeah.
Brake on the first climb, tacked the brake on the second climb, like he was on a mission. Talking to his team boss before, he'd just come out of altitude, so he was a little bit unsure how he'd go on the back end, but well, we did know, not little did we know, we did know Ben Dybel was there, and he just placed himself in the move, placed himself in Harper's second move, and then with 2 laps to go, just went on a mission. Got himself out to a minute 10 seconds, I think. We weren't getting a whole lot of feedback from the Twitter, but got himself out to about a minute 10 seconds, and then we're like, oh, there was 3 riders behind him.
Strong riders.
And we're like, this might be the end of him. Like, he could hang himself out to dry. Turns out, he put 4 minutes into him.
He's a rider that he's been super unlucky not to crack a gig at the World Tour. I think someone that can climb like he can time trial. He's only about 60 kilos, but he absolutely scorched the pancake flat TT in Evandale. He put some big time into his rivals, and he's someone that I think he's going to keep chipping away. And especially Alex, this is something that's worth noting: 250 UCI points to win a continental championship, which includes Oceanias. And put that in a little bit of perspective, Julian Alaphilippe picked up 300 winning Strada Bianchi. Jakob Fuglsang 250 in second at Strada. So it's the equivalent points-wise of coming second at Strada Bianchi, which is crazy, isn't it?
We might just answer Jethro Nagel's question here on Twitter, which was, Oceania titles, what do they mean to riders, prospective teams looking at talent? Like, if we were talking about Michael Freeberg at the start, on the brink of a very good contract, he's national champion now, he's shown what he can do, he's back, 250 points puts him at that, I guess, gives him that attractiveness in the sense that if they're weighing up him and another rider, if one's got 250 points to their name, equivalent to fourth or fifth in Paris-Nice?
I think it was fifth. Equivalent to fifth on the general.
On the general in Paris-Nice. That's enough to get you over the line. That means a lot.
Yeah, it does.
That could be all you need to get into the pro ranks.
Yeah. I completely forgot what I was going to say. I was going to say something.
And I think that goes a little bit underrated. Like, I never raced it as an elite, but as an under 23, it was always like, oh yeah, Oceania's.
Yeah, but it was also like it was almost like an automatic qualification for Worlds. You're the Oceania champion. You qualify your nation. I think you qualify your nation one, but you've also you're also
That's right.
You're also in straight away. They can either A, take you, or B, leave you out, but they can't sub in another rider for you.
Yeah.
So they kind of just take you because, well, we'll have 6 there instead of 5.
And we always used to stay after our training camp to Oceania's for that reason, to get an extra spot at Worlds.
Yeah. But also just a quick note is double. I think these rankings, they kind of roll over. It's not like a January to December kind of thing. It's some sort of date to date. But he's moved himself into the top 60 riders in the world with that over the last rolling period. So, like you said, he becomes now quite attractive to some of those World Tour teams that, if it comes to the crunch, they need to start picking up some riders with a few more points. He really comes into the equation, and we know he can do a good Asian scene as well. And he's with a team in Asia. He's third at Langkawi last year, so I think things could be looking up for Ben Double if he continues in this form. And was he in form?
Can he go pro?
I think the only thing that's probably going to work against him is his age. He's not a spring chicken anymore. He's 29, and
but
maybe riders might look at him. Directors and managers might look at him and say, "Well, why hasn't he gone World Tour? What's been holding him back?"
So would you sign him? You're director of Mitchelton Scott. What do you do?
Well, I don't see him going.
Say he snags enough victories this year.
Well, I think yes. I think he can. He has shown when he's had the opportunity that he can do performances like this. Langkawi third. I think I would give him a chance. Maybe it's because I like him, Alex. I can't completely detach myself away from the scenario. But to answer your question, if it was me, yeah, I'd give him a start.
Our take on point number 2. What's Taffy's first name?
I think it's
Andrea. Yeah, could have taken a punt on that. Andre Tafi, winner of Paris-Roubaix 20 years ago. He announced last year that he wants to have another crack at the race. And, well, there's a bit of a story in between that. But on the weekend, he snapped his collarbone in a local club race. I don't know. I'm just reading the news.
That's the report. But look, it's all come out that he's
not found out. He's gone, oh, dear.
Well, his Paris-Roubaix dreams have been dashed. Quite close to the depart. I don't imagine he had a team in place. I think the latest news was that the organisation was going to let him start like a few minutes ahead of the bunch. He was going to see how long he could stay out there. Which just sounds absolutely bizarre.
I read that article about 5 times.
You read that article?
Yeah, because I'm like, what do you mean? Like,
why would you do that? Why would you just sit in the VIP just sliding lagers all day?
Like, who's winning out of this? Like some
ex-rider. It doesn't look good for the organisation as well. Like, what are you doing?
I don't trust that article. I think that was made up. But
yeah, I mean, I guess we're talking about he's kind of put himself back into the news, but I don't think he was really ever going to get a team on board to A, actually sign him, and then B, sacrifice one of their existing riders to give him a spot.
He's an Italian legend, though. He is 20 years out of the sport. Is he just getting to a point where he's like, I just need a bit of love, bit of recognition?
Like a band when they get back together after 15 years.
Yeah.
Like we need
John
some
Farnham
cash, we need to get back on the scene.
Doing 17
maybe.
reunion tours. But like, I don't know his backstory really at all, besides his achievements. Don't know what he's done for the last 20 years. Like, he's obviously still fit. He obviously still loves the sport. If he's, you know what, they're put up here in Italy. Like, you are the king of the world.
Shippo.
Yeah, exactly. You can do whatever you want. So
And Chippo has, according to our cameraman over
Yeah.
here, Riley, saying that he's been on rogue. We're not
Yeah.
laughing about what he's done, but like he's been a bit of a wildcat. All reports. What's he been doing, Riley? Do you want to come and just have
yeah,
a
just
quick...
come treat yourself to a microphone.
I did read a couple things. Cycling Tips covered it quite well. The rival podcast, saying that he's got a couple of court dates coming up as a result of some violence and stalking charges. So, don't know.
Yeah, grippy times.
Whoops.
Yeah, it's not good at all. Anyway,
But yeah, to put a
But
bookend
yeah,
on that,
but like-
he won't be doing Roubaix.
he won't be
Alex.
doing Roubaix, no, because he snapped his collarbone. But my theory is that he's just looking. He was just looking for a bit of love, and we gave him that bit of love on the podcast by
Exactly.
getting talking point number 2. On to number 3. He's been a bit of No, he hasn't been an excitement this week. He was.
He
an
hasn't. Let's be
No,
honest,
he hasn't. He hasn't at all. He was just in excitement when he saw him on the stat sheet at the end of the GC. His time trial was really good. But Jack Haig, point number 3, 4th on the general classification at Paris-Nice.
It's huge, isn't it?
Excuse me? But also, the reason why we say he hasn't been in excitement all week, we didn't see him all week.
Well, Alex, here's a little bit of a fun fact for you. He actually didn't finish inside the top 10 once on any stage. That's why we didn't see him. And that's why, like, because I'm looking at the results every day. It's like, oh, no Jack Haig in the top 10. But he just kept climbing the GC every day. He just kept popping up. And to finish 4th on the general in Paris-Nice, if you had said that to me, maybe even last year, we know he can climb. But Paris-Nice is that race where you need to be careful in the crosswinds. You need to be able to do a time trial. It's early in the season. There was a few question marks there, and of course, probably helped that Yates got spat out in the crosswinds early in the piece, so he became the focal point of the team.
But then also, I do recollect him doing the job for Trenton on the day that
Magnus Cort.
the day that Magnus Cort went boom from the breakaway,
Yeah.
which is a whole other thing in its own. He was doing a bit of a work there for Matteo Trentin, so he didn't automatically just slip right into that GC role. So I love his work. I love his hustle. Like you pointed out, it's a hard race, but also he is to the book. Like things go
Yeah.
bang, 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 and when they click, they click. Like he's
And when he was under 23, we thought, well, how much more can he improve? He is doing everything. He's eating well. He's doing his stretching. He's a regimer. How much more can he improve? But he's on leaps and bounds. He was 7th in Valencia, 7th at Ruta del Sol, the Andalusia, and now he's 4th in Paris-Nice. So he's becoming a genuine 1-week specialist, Alex, and it'll be interesting to see
I guess
whether he does get that start of the Tour de France.
is that part of the progression? You got to start to before he's got the ability to drag himself around 3 weeks.
Well, we know he can drag himself around 3 weeks.
We know he can, but to be able to perform at that level for 3 weeks, that's a whole
different.
other
It's
story.
different. Yeah, it's different doing GC to being good on stage 7, stage 14, 16, and stage 20. You need to be good on 21 stages, just not.
And having an absolute shocker on stage 14 and dragging yourself over 3 mountains.
Yeah, exactly. So, I do like what he's doing, Alex. I think Mitchelton's been super with him. I think he's found a really good fit there. And yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see his progress this year, and hopefully he does get that start at the TDF.
I think too, I was a little bit concerned about him at Mitchelton with it's a bit of a logjam there.
Yeah, it is.
It's not.
There's even guys coming through now
there's
underneath
guys
him
coming through.
with Lucas.
But he's found his own.
Yeah.
From all reports, he's got a lovely girlfriend. He's set up in Andorra now. Just seems like he's just got everything sorted. He's just there.
That's what we always talk about, Alex, is making yourself at home in Europe is number one key. And he's done that. I don't think he's come back to Australia for maybe at least 2 summers.
He's a proper Euro
He's
dog.
a full Euro dog. Got his place in Andorra. He's in the mountains. He's always skiing. So he's getting into that European lifestyle. Got a British girlfriend. So he's really at home, and it's great to see.
Hey mate, just going over the race. I'm super happy with the result that I got, and to be able to take the opportunity that I was given after Simon lost some time in the crosswinds early on in the race, which also caught out many of the other GC riders. Was super nice. It's not very often I get a chance to lead the team with such high caliber of riders that we have. So to be able to capitalize on that and have the whole team sort of back me for the rest of the week was super nice. And yeah, couldn't be happier with fourth. If I had the legs, I would have loved to have tried and leapfrog Kwiatkowski in the last stage, but it was pretty filthy and pretty hard, and I didn't really have the legs, so I have to be happy with fourth. And now, looking ahead, I have actually a bit of a break. I have a bit of a different race calendar to what I've had the last couple of years, where I've normally raced Catalunya and Pays Basque before the Ardennes, but this year it's slightly different with much more racing early on in the season with Vuelta Valencia and Ruta del Sol and now Paris-Nice. So I'll take 5 days more or less now at home in Andorra, relatively easy, and then go to Sierra Nevada for 2 weeks of altitude, come back to Andorra for 1 week, and then I start the Ardennes with Brabantse-Pijl and then Flèche and Liège. Before going back to Andorra, and probably I'll stay back at altitude then, and then prepare for the Giro, which is sort of the next big objective. I built up the first half of the season sort of aiming to have the first peak at Paris-Nice, which worked out well, and now sort of take a bit of recovery and rebuild for the next goal, which is to help Simon at the Giro, and hopefully we can get a little bit closer to the pink jersey. Last year we got so close, so it'd be really nice to be able to go back and sort of repeat the performance and finish the Giro with a pink jersey.
The future. Campbell will take us into the future.
Well,
there's probably one big future piece.
There is one big future piece that we'll get to in just a second, but in the more immediate future, Tirreno Adriatico still got a few more stages to go, and it's still up for grabs, Alex. I think that Yates will be hard to beat. Adam Yates, I think this is. Is it Adam Yates? They're just always doing things.
One of the twins.
I'm gonna start that again. Yeah, Adam Yates. He's got 25 seconds on Roglic, and stage 6. It's Vumpy. Or was that stage 6? Are we done? Are we done with stage 6?
Oh, I don't know. The future's hard, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Welcome to the future. Well, that's why it is hard to project. We've just done stage 5.
Yeah, start us off again. Just start us off all again with the future. My deepest apologies. My PCS.
The future. Welcome to the future, everyone. Campbell Flakemore is going to take us through what's coming up in the next week. There's one major talking point.
There's a big talking point next Saturday, or this Saturday,
This Saturday, yeah.
In the more immediate future, Tirreno Adriatico still got a few stages to go. Tonight, on paper, it should be pretty routine. Adam Yates, he's got a little bit of a buffer over Roglic. He took that on last night, got a little bit of a gap. So he heads into that final time trial. It's only 10k, but he's got 25 seconds on Roglic, who is probably the more accomplished time trialist. But 25 seconds in 10k, I'm not quite sure if he can do that. Tom Dumoulin's working at 155, but of course that's a little bit too far off the mark. If it was a 50k TT, maybe it'd be a different story. But 10k, I probably think Adam Yates probably just goes into that final time trial as the favourite.
Roglic is a bit of a gut runner, you might
He's
describe.
a gut runner. Telstra Dome, roof open, Robert Harvey. How's he got so much room? It's because he's a gut runner. You can cut that out.
Have you seen it?
Have you seen that?
It's so good. Oh. Takes the bounce with the left hand.
It's artistic.
Sorry. I was just waiting to say gut runner. What were you saying?
Roglic is probably a little bit too far off the mark. 25 seconds to Yates. In only 10k, riding with the leader's blue jersey on your shoulders gives you a little bit more motivation. I think probably Yates goes in as the slight favourite, even though Roglic is he's a proper TT. He's been on the podium at Worlds, but 10K, I just
Coming
think
from
it's not.
behind, he's got the time checks. Him and his brother, well, based off his brother's condition, they've been on the
He's
TT
apparently-
rigs all
he's
right.
apparently a TT guru now.
Yeah. I agree. He should be fine. And then on Saturday, Campbell, Milano San Remo.
It's probably the first big appointment, you'd say. We've had Strade Bianchi, we've had Paris-Nice, we've had Tirreno, but San Remo is the first monument of the season. And it's one of those races where everyone that is good kind of fancies themselves. Guys from Vincenzo Nibali, who won last year, to genuine sprinters can win here. So it's a race that it's almost impossible to predict. And a guy who was second last year, he's been building himself up in his own socials. Caleb Ewan, he's putting a lot of pressure on himself.
Well,
Isn't it more than anyone else, more
yeah.
than team, more than media? It's himself on his Instas. He's saying, pulling out, big goal, Milan San Remo.
But, like, he loves that. He thrives
He
off
does.
that.
We know that.
You give him a sniff, you give him a bit of pressure on his shoulders. It was one of the things he struggled with at Mitchelton Scott was didn't have the 7 men. It's like, I want every man and his dog out there for me. But this is his, like, he needs to make an impression on this team. He's won one race, but he's been second a lot. Geez, if he can pull this off, this is going to be an absolute perfect start for him as he heads into his contract with Lotto Soudal, and just give the boys a bit of confidence that their new man can pull it off.
Yeah, you're talking about having that team support in the final, but you don't get a whole lot of team support. You kind of got to pull your own gun out and start fighting yourself. If it comes to the finish, we saw that he was the quickest by an absolute mile last year. Absolute mile.
Absolute torched him.
Absolute mile. But the thing that worries me a little bit is if you focus completely just on one race. It's not like the cobbled specialists, they get a few chances, or the Ardennes get a few chances, or you target TDF or Giro where sprinters might get 4 or 5 chances, 2 good ones, let's say. It's one day, and if you're off, then you're not going to be winning.
And also, you can't control if Vincenzo Nibali puts in an
Denies on the
absolute...
downhill.
Yeah, puts it... Peter Sagan does something different and goes on the downhill. And then also, you've got the other sprinters there too. As you said, you've got to be on as well.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, there's a lot of risk, but you know just as well as I do, he can perform
thrives
when he
off it.
needs to. He
Yeah.
loves it. He loves it.
He does.
He
He loves putting pressure on himself.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense at all. It's like the opposite to a normal person,
Yeah.
which is why he's so good. But if he doesn't pull this off, he's going to be absolutely rope.
Yeah.
Like absolutely ropeable.
We put himself, him or the team decided that it was best for him to step out the last 2 stages of Paris-Nice, freshen up a little bit. He wasn't going to get anything
Makes
out of those.
sense.
He wasn't going to get anything out of those last 2 stages. Got some good solid racing in. Got close a couple of times. So yeah, for him it's all focused on that. But I think Elia Viviani, Albi, he's had a good start to the year. National champion kit, Italian national champion
Home
kit
soil.
in San Remo, and he's probably been the standout sprinter so far. Maybe Bennett and Groenewegen, maybe a little bit quicker. But after 290k, I think Viviani's going to be really hard to beat, and he's got the team as well.
Yeah.
He's got the team as well, so it's going to be a doozy on Saturday night, that's for sure.
Do you want some more wine before we go on the questions? Just treat yourself to that last little
I've
bit.
got to drive home. I'll have a mouthful.
Give Riley a bit too.
Get the video of that. Pow.
The last segment of the day, the listener questions. You can answer this first one, Campbell. Pumpstagram says, how good can Burnout get? Burnout's 22.
He is. And
How old are you, Riley? 19.
yeah,
He's a young pup.
like I just said, he's the youngest winner of Paris-Nice of all time. Got poached kind of from Androni. And I think when he signed, I was kind of like, well, is this going to be another Ian Boswell, Dombrowski signing where they get signed up, they do the donkey work 2 or 3 years, and they get spat out? seriously, Boswell and Dombrowski were super under 23s.
Yeah.
And look, they've done good stuff in the.
Even the Henao bros, they're good.
Yeah, exactly.
But
It's the
they're
same-
not-
It's the same sort of thing. So I was a little bit worried, but what he did last year, especially at the Tour de France, I was like, well, maybe this is going to be a little bit different. Maybe this guy is on another level. And then he goes and wins Paris-Nice.
Because we were gauging this off his performance at Tour de l'Avenir, where he was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like, he took the chockies over, like we saw Lucas and Jai Hindley dominate throughout the year. He took them to the cleaners.
The South Americans always do that, don't they? You don't really see them all year, and then they just pop
I don't
up.
know where they race.
Neither do I.
Yeah, they're just mystery men.
How good can he get? Well, I think I said on this pod, maybe I think it might have been with Josh. I said he will win the Tour de France sometime. Like, give me a market for it.
Pumped Instagram. There's your answer.
Yeah, I think he can be a world leader, Alex. I think he can be possibly the best climber of all time.
Second question from Tom Hamilton. Athletes getting gigs on teams based solely off lab testing and not off merit or results. What do you reckon?
Of course,
It happens.
I
I got most of my gigs.
You were a good tester,
I was a
Albie.
good tester,
You were
yeah.
a really good tester.
Yeah.
Remember that? That what was it? Was it the 4-minute test just before, at one of the selection camps? I think you had the best.
Yeah.
I think that's probably what.
It got me
got you
over the line because there was we were in a scenario where there was the elite three that were winning races, and then the rest of us were getting like top 5s, top 10s. We weren't winning races, so yeah, the 4-minute test and the VO2 test got me over the line. Got
So
me a
for you-
start.
so
Yeah,
for
so
you,
for me,
it's good for you.
all about it. Yeah.
But I know,
I'm not champion du monde though.
well, I'm not sure what to say. Go on, red.
I think
I
it's
yeah.
but then you always hear people when Simon Guerin speaks, he's like couldn't test at all, was useless, and look how good a rider he was.
Yeah.
So
It definitely. One thing's for sure, it definitely doesn't translate to doing good stuff on the road. I don't think there's like a direct. Maybe in TTs, yes, but even then, I still think there's a lot of other things that go into a time trial rather than just being able to do a good lab test.
the podcast with Andre Lagersh, I asked him that question, like how much, like looking at a guy's heart, what can you tell?
And didn't he say that he, like, based off the physiology, he can tell you'll be a good athlete or you won't?
Yeah. So you can tell that, but then you can't tell who's going to win the bike race. You can tell probably the top 20.
Yeah.
You can go, all right, you're going to be able to hold your own in the dance, but you're not going to be able to pick the guy that can race like Alex Edmondson, the guy that wants to throw it in the barriers to win. Like,
not everyone can be a gut runner, Alex.
No, not everyone can be a gut runner, and that's important. Not everyone can do the Robert Harvey left-handed bounce down the middle
of the
Telstra Dome. Yeah.
So
I think that's the answer. Like it's got its place in the sport.
Definitely look into it, but I don't think it should be the be all.
No, be all and end all. And I think all in all, character and your ability to win. I think ability to win is hard to measure, but unless you're putting results on the board, but your ability to win and your ability to want to race. Like you always talk about GVA, how much of a racer he is.
Yeah, exactly.
That's invaluable. That's invaluable.
Same with Alaphilippe. They're the same sort of guys.
But then also, you look at Haig. He's a stats man. He is. He's a stats man. He's
not a gut runner.
He's not a gut runner. He's a stats man. So there's two parts to that equation, and I think they complement each other.
Yeah.
Fox Williams, strongest team of the season so far. Quickstep or Astana?
Pretty close, isn't it, Alex?
You take the sponsorship on both of them.
Yeah, I think it's 19 wins for Astana, 17 for Quickstep. Probably a little bit more quality from Quickstep.
And the thing about the Quickstep victories, they're all in their homeland. Like that's value for money for. Except for there's a few outliers, but they cleaned up in the Classic, which is the value for money for the sponsors. Is something that Lefebvre can take to the locals. It's getting in the press. All the locals getting excited about it. They're getting on their boys.
Well, especially the pressure that comes with opening weekend and all the hype for opening weekend to go and do it B2B and then win the same a couple of days later midweek.
And then also get that global exposure, winning Strata.
Yeah, and then
Like
Strata
it's-
as well. So the one-dayers, they've got some stage wins here and there in Argentina, Colombia, TDU, and they also won Cadel Evans Road Race at the start of the year. So they've picked up a lot. But then Astana, on the other hand, winning in Colombia, winning in Oman, 3 stages, and the overall with Luchenko. Paris-Nice, bits and pieces, Andalusia, Fusang, and then stage wins in Tirreno, Fusang and Luchenko. I think, like you said, at exactly the start of this question, you take both. But if I had to choose, I think I'd probably go with the quick step wins.
Yeah, I agree. Is anyone going to be able to stop burnout the Giro from TT Daly?
I'm just going to see who else is there.
Is the start list up?
Well, I think like there's a few maybe. Can you ask the question again?
Is anyone going to be able to stop Bernal, the Giro, this year?
Exactly what we talked about at the start, Alex. Is one thing to be good bits and pieces for 21 days, like Bernal was in the Tour de France, but it's another thing to be on the money 21 days in a row.
And I've never got to that point, but I feel that's what you develop when you've done a few Grand Tours.
Yeah.
You go, the question is always, day 14, hilly day, you didn't get a good night's sleep, you've got bad legs.
How
and
do you
you
get through?
How do you get through, and can you hang on?
Yeah.
Or do you have an absolute shocker, be good for the other 20 days, but your race is over?
Yeah, I just think guys that are a little bit more weathered, like Tom Dumoulin, Vincenzo Nibali. I know one of the Yates boys, I think it's S. Yates, is going to be going there. Roglic, Aru, who knows what he's going to do. Miguel Lopez. So there's a lot of guys that have that experience of doing the 21 days at the top level, chalked up results in the top 5 in Grandies. So look, it wouldn't be a surprise. I don't think we could.
Stage win?
Of course,
Yeah.
I think a stage win, but I don't think it would be a surprise if he went out and won it. But I just think he's probably just a little bit too young, and I think you probably need to go for GC in a Grandie once or twice before actually winning it. Do you concur?
I concur.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. He's a little bit of a volatile bet. He might be able to, he could pull it off, but
I'd probably say no.
I wouldn't mortgage the house on it.
No.
From Michael Potter, snagged a podium on the
He did.
weekend, so this might be a little bit influenced by that. Thoughts on combining the under-23 and the elites at the championship event, which happened at the Oceanas on the weekend?
Well, from an organisational perspective, it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? That's another 4 hours they need to close the roads. A lot of extra cost that goes into it with the police and the permits and everything like that. So from that kind of viewpoint, you can see why the organisation does it. They don't have like the big entries like they do for national championships. So that's why they run it together, the elite and the under-23s. But it definitely creates a weird dynamic, doesn't it? It's like we saw Tyler Lindorff come across the line celebrating. It's like, well, you just ran like 12th. Like, this is a bit weird, but still great that he wins the championship. But it kind of takes a little bit of the polish off the under-23s that came in for, I think it was, I don't know what it was, 7th or
it does.
10th or
But
something.
when you got like a start list of 60, cut it in half, it's 30 riders. You wouldn't combine the national championships because there's 2 genuine fields in there. But for me, you combine the Oceanas. If you want your own race, call up 50 of your mates and get them to enter, and then they might look at giving you your own race. I reckon.
I think, let's just be clear, I think we'd rather see 2 separate
It'd be
races.
better. It'd be better.
100%, but you can tell from an organisational perspective that it just makes sense to run them together.
Was there one more question?
Was there one on the Twitter? Did you say? I already got that.
Nah, that was the
I think that
last.
maybe the stats man can
Yeah,
go with that. The tube man.
the Chew Man. No, we need a different name for him. What's a name? Riley for now. That's all for question time. Riley, our stats man, came up with a little idea before to run a velo league. Velo. I'll start that again. Our stat man and videographer Riley Hart came up with a little idea before. Do you want to just pause the video and run us through that?
So we'll be setting up a fantasy velo games league. Details to come, but for the spring classics, and we'll have some cool prizes for the winner. At this stage, T-shirt, hopefully, depending on our upon arrival. Exactly, could be a little bit delayed, but T-shirt, and we'll see what else we can wrangle. But yeah, join. All the info will be on the socials shortly with login info, and make your team, and we'll see who's the best fantasy DS.
One rider, Alex. Who's number one draft pick for your Spring Classics fantasy team? Riley, is it Ardennes and Cobbles? It's okay.
I think you got a couple changes from memory. I know.
Number one rider.
Number one draft pick. Who's gonna
Max Gawn in the ruck.
Well, yeah. I mean, you take Gawn. Although Grundy, you go with him maybe.
I don't know.
Be more of a gut runner.
But then you've also got the Ardennes to think about. So
for me, at this stage, I'd probably go with Oliver Nason. I'm not sure what he's going to be doing Ardennes, but he climbed with the front group in Paris-Nice last night.
Which would mean he's probably going to do the Ardennes.
Yeah, but he's a cobbled specialist. So for me, I'd probably go with Oliver Nason, number one pick.
Number one pick.
Just because of that balance
dynamic
between the two. Yeah.
Yeah. With him being the marquee rider, having not performed in those pre-classics, going to be so hungry for a victory.
Nicky?
No.
Uh-huh.
Maybe if I was completely subjective, Nicky, but I'm not a massive fan of him after last year.
Wow, I like that. I like that a lot.
I think GVA... He's got that much pressure on his shoulders. He loves racing. He's a super rider. I think he's the number one pick. He's got to deliver CCC something.
Yeah, he does.
He has to. Yeah.
Jim Ockowitz will be on the phone.
Yeah.
Plug on all that sponsorship.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Riley, for video on the podcast. Thanks for coming around, Cambo.
Thanks, Alex, for the start.
And thanks to Matt for all the support as always. We'll see you back at the Social Club next time.